Put 2 fingers on your forearm, not your jaw, your forearm. Press along the inner edge, the soft corridor running from your wrist towards your elbow. And notice whether it feels dense or knotted or just quietly resistant. Now slowly turn your palm to face the ceiling. If you felt something shift further up the arm, if something pulled, even faintly, in the direction of your shoulder or your collarbone, that sensation is the reason your jaw looks the way it does. The standard advice for the jawline runs through the face. Massage the masseter, practice mewing, target the platysma. All reasonable, all starting in the wrong place. Because the tissue holding your jaw in position doesn't begin at your jaw. It begins at your palm. And it runs, without interruption, all the way up. That's what this is about, not a face exercise. A forearm technique that releases the entire chain, and you'll understand exactly why before we get to the movement itself. Because knowing the mechanism is what separates someone who does this correctly from someone who goes through the motions for a week and wonders why nothing changed. One prerequisite: if you have an acute wrist injury, tendonitis flaring right now, or recent elbow surgery, work at level 1 only and consult your clinician first. For everyone else, all 3 levels are safe to explore. The anatomy has a name. Thomas Myers, who spent decades mapping the body's fascial architecture and published what is now the foundational reference in this field, called it the superficial front arm line. It doesn't behave like an isolated muscle with a tidy origin and insertion. It behaves like a cable, one continuous length of tissue running from the palmar fascia, the dense sheet across the base of your hand, through the flexor muscle compartment of the forearm, past the medial epicondyle at the inner elbow, up through the anterior shoulder structures, across to the pectoralis minor, up the front of the neck through the sternocleidomastoid, and terminating in the platysma and the deeper facial fascia. One cable, unbroken. Dr. Carla Stecco, whose dissection work at the University of Padua produced the most detailed mapping of fascial continuity in living anatomy, demonstrated that fascial planes transmit mechanical load across regions that conventional anatomy treats as entirely separate. The forearm flexors and the facial fascia are not in the same chapter of any textbook. They are anatomically on the same page. Think of it like tuning an instrument. Understanding the superficial front arm line is itself like what the line does. Pull on one end and the tension registers at the other. The more you understand this chain, the more you feel the chain. The knowledge and the anatomy operate by the same logic. Everything transmits. So what happens to that cable during a normal day? Your hand wraps a phone. Your forearm pronates. Palm faces down, elbow rolls inward, across a keyboard for hours. You grip a steering wheel. Each of these is a reasonable, unremarkable thing, and each one quietly shortens the flexor compartment of your forearm. Not painfully, not noticeably, just persistently. A woman in her mid-50s described something that stays with me. She'd spent years managing spreadsheets for a regional hospital system. She'd also spent years with a jaw that ached by Thursday and a lower face that, in her words, had started to look like it was being pulled somewhere I hadn't agreed to go. She'd had her bite assessed, her masseter injected, her sleep tested for clenching. Everything was plausible. Nothing held. The link she was missing was 2 feet below her jaw. Her forearm had been contracting that cable every working day for 15 years, and nobody had looked there because the symptom was in her face. A man who retired from a long career in architecture tells a shorter version of the same story. His chiropractor told him his jaw was misaligned. 3 years of adjustments. No argument with the diagnosis, but the alignment kept drifting back. Something upstream of the jaw was pulling it there. Now, the orbital mechanics of this matter. Astronomers don't fix a planet's unstable orbit by nudging the planet. They look for the gravitational source. Understanding this is like orbital mechanics. You can't resolve the trajectory without identifying the body that's exerting the pull. Treat the jaw and ignore the forearm, and the jaw drifts back. Every time. Because the pull is still active. Let me back up for a second. There's something about the force transmission I want to be precise about before we reach the protocol, because this changes how carefully you'll perform the movement. Fascia is not passive. It's not just packaging. Ruffini endings, mechanoreceptors embedded in fascial tissue, respond specifically to sustained lateral loading. What they don't respond to is quick stretching. A brief tug on the forearm flexors releases nothing upstream. Research on myofascial loading duration has consistently found that meaningful neurological response in fascial tissue requires load sustained for somewhere between 60 and 90 seconds. That's why this is a 60-second technique. Not arbitrary, not a round number for ease of memory. 60 seconds is the floor of what this tissue responds to. When you perform the twist correctly, here's what you're after. The sensation runs. A retired nurse described it as a coat hanger finally unclenching. That dense inner arm tissue softening and the release traveling upward without her moving anything other than her forearm and wrist. That's the fascial chain responding. That's what you're learning to feel. 3 levels. Start at the one that matches where you are today. Level 1 is for anyone with tight forearms, any history of elbow or wrist sensitivity, or simply anyone doing this for the first time. Sit in a chair with good back support. Extend your right arm in front of you, elbows soft, not locked, not bent, just easy. Begin to rotate the forearm so your palm faces upward. That's supination. Stop when you feel resistance. Don't push through it. Hold that position. Let the tissue tell you where its edge is. Breathe. Your breath pace should match your intention here. Slow in, slow out. 1 cycle every 4 to 5 seconds. Stay for 60 seconds. The common mistake at level 1 is rotating too far and gripping for control. The moment you grip, the flexor compartment recontracts and you've canceled the release. The forearm should feel passive in the final position, not working. Switch arms, 60 seconds each side. What you're looking for at level 1 mastery. You can hold the supinated position for 60 seconds without any compensatory shoulder hiking. The shoulder stays down and back. If it climbs, you're asking for range the tissue isn't ready to give. Level 2 adds wrist extension. Same starting position, arm extended, palm rotating to the ceiling. Once supination is established and comfortable, gently begin to extend the wrist, fingers pointing toward the floor, the back of the hand moving slightly downward. This takes the palmar fascia into the stretch and loads the full distal end of the cable. The pull toward the elbow and collarbone becomes more distinct. It should feel significant without feeling sharp. Significant is the fascial system loading. Sharp is a joint being compressed. If you feel sharp, release the wrist extension and stay at level 1. Hold 60 seconds. Switch. The common mistake at level 2 is dropping the elbow as the wrist extends. Keep the forearm parallel to the floor, supported in space, not hanging. The supporting arm can help hold it there while the tissue releases. Mastery signal at level 2. During the final 20 seconds of the hold, you notice something in the jaw or lower face that you didn't actively do. A small release, a slight softening around the mouth. That's the fascial transmission operating. You didn't move your face, the chain moved for you. Level 3 adds cervical rotation. Only for those with no current neck issues, no acute cervical disc involvement, no sharp neck pain on rotation. At level 2 position, forearm supinated, wrist extended, slowly rotate your head away from the arm being stretched. Right arm stretching, head turns left. This loads the sternocleidomastoid component of the chain and pulls the full length taut from palm to the lateral jaw. The sensation becomes unmistakable. The connection isn't theoretical at this point. It's physical information. Hold 60 seconds. The common mistake at level 3 is rotating the head too far or too fast. The rotation is small, 20 to 30 degrees, enough to feel the addition, not enough to strain the cervical spine. And the breath stays slow. When the breath speeds up, the nervous system interprets threat, and the fascial tissue will guard. Keep the breath slow, and the tissue stays receptive. Mastery signal at level 3. You feel the chain before you complete the movement. The rotation of the head begins, and the forearm to jaw line announces itself before you finish the gesture. That's proprioceptive learning. Your interoceptive nervous system now knows this line exists. The frequency that makes this work is daily, but modestly. One cycle, 60 seconds per arm, your chosen level, each morning. The research on fascial remodeling, which looks at how collagen fiber orientation changes in response to sustained loading, suggests that consistency over days matters far more than intensity on any single day. This is not a technique you push harder. It's a technique you return to. When to do it? Right after brushing your teeth, before the screen comes on, before the forearm has spent its first hour of the day in pronation. The toothbrush is your trigger. The twist follows the brush. Now, 3 fields of research arrived at this anatomy separately. Anatomists following the fascial planes, Myers, Stecco, and colleagues, whose dissection work now spans multiple institutions across Europe and North America, mapped the lines without any interest in facial appearance. They were following tissue. The lines led them there. Neuroscientists studying the fascial nervous system found that the Ruffini endings I mentioned respond to sustained lateral load by signaling the local nervous system to reduce tone. Not through conscious relaxation, through a reflex that requires no effort from you. Load the tissue correctly for long enough, and the nervous system reduces the holding pattern. That's not metaphor, that's mechanoreceptor physiology. Clinical rehabilitation researchers, including work conducted in association with Johns Hopkins rehabilitation programs, have documented that jaw and facial symptoms that fail to respond to local treatment frequently resolve when the upper limb fascial chain is addressed. The clinical observation preceded the mechanistic explanation. Practitioners noticed the pattern, then the anatomy gave them the reason. 3 traditions, 3 methodologies, 1 cable. Understanding fascia is fascial. The deeper you learn this, the more the learning itself behaves the way the tissue behaves. One thing connects to another, and pulling on one end shifts everything downstream. That's the recursive truth of this system. The knowledge transmits the way the tissue does. Most people who find themselves here, watching something that begins with forearm anatomy and ends at the face, are carrying years of working at a screen. Years of a jaw that sits lower than it used to. Years of face-focused approaches that helped some and held less. The fact that you stayed long enough to reach a 60-second technique that sounds implausible is the thing I genuinely want to acknowledge. You gave this your attention when the logic hadn't fully landed yet. That's not a small thing. Most people don't. I gave you the mechanism, the anatomy, the neuroscience, the clinical observation, and a protocol in 3 levels you can begin tonight. If any of that landed, if something clicked about why the forearm is where this starts, one small thing, share the mechanism with someone. Not this video, just the idea. Tell them the arm and the face are on the same cable. See what they say. That's enough. The protocol is yours now. The toothbrush, then the wrist.